Hello and welcome to another edition of The People's Rose.
Okay. Changing it
This
up.
is a reality TV recap, review, discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, podcast. And we're a married couple. At the helm of this, I'm Jarrett.
And I'm Brooke.
And we love reality TV. We love watching it. We love talking about it. And so here we are doing it and recording it on a podcast, which we've uploaded to the internet. Thank you for listening to us. You can find us on whatever podcast platform you listen to, as well as online, on YouTube, and on social media and all the other video sites. Please follow us wherever you want to. Why would you follow us? Because we talk about all the reality TV shows we watch, be it The Amazing Race, Love is Blind, The Real Housewife and the Bravo shows, the TLC shows, competitive reality TV on streaming networks, and Big Brother, and the show that premiered for the first time this series in its series history this week, The Golden Bachelor, with our lead Gerry. So let's hop right into the amazing episode that we had. Gerry, just the Gerry lead this season, starting off with a bang for the Golden Bachelor. What do you think of Gerry's first episode for the Golden Bachelor?
Gerry is just a gem. He's so handsome. He's so poised. He's so smart. He's so tall. He's so the Golden Bachelor.
No, I was talking about Gerry, not me. Not me. No, but you're right. Yeah.
You know what? I can't even lie. When that. Well, we're focusing on Gerry, so I'll get to that. The Bachelorettes. But Gerry, just 10 out of 10.
Yeah, he did a great job. You could just tell right off the bat. I tweeted this, or I just put it. I think I tweeted it out. He's just so poised. He's thoughtful. He's attentive. He is considerate. He's humble. He is, just caring. All of these are very obvious and evident in his first. And be it old, young, male, female, when it comes to leads on this franchise, I mean, you got to go back. I don't even know how long to think of someone who's had those qualities more than he does. And it could just be age. He's got the experience, the life, time of experience, like I said, for those to be fully made manifest in his personality. So it's just, I think he's going to be a great Bachelor, Golden Bachelor to be specific. And after this first episode, I think we're in store for a great season. What do you think?
Same. I agree completely.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Well, I mean, let's start. Let's go.
It also had the same essence of The Bachelor to me.
But
I was a little bit concerned that it might not, but everything was the same. Jesse was there. They were in the mansion. He rolled up in his limo. The ladies rolled up in their limos, and some surprise entrances.
Yeah.
And they all had a little something planned.
Yeah, he definitely gave off I mean, this episode felt like those old school seasons of The Bachelor, like we've all been clamoring for. Like we've been saying, we want seasons that were more focused on like love and true finding romance. And I think on the younger leads, the male and female seasons, they've tried to get back to that, but it just hasn't felt. And maybe because of maybe how cynical the world is now, or how much things have changed, it just doesn't feel the same. But I feel like they've been able to recapture it with these people, and maybe it's because we don't have that. Like, I can't think of a single woman, and I'm sure there are some, but just from how maybe it's, biased, that I felt like, oh, this contestant's on here for the fame. Or this person is on here to be the Golden Bachelorette.
I can think of one.
Right, but okay, I can think of a few, but I feel like on these other seasons, half of the people that are on there, even if they do, it's almost a side gig winning the show.
True.
They just want to be like a future influencer. Quick sidebar: Love is Blind, which we'll talk about at the end of the episode. We heard from former contestants that they quit their job making $230 $100,000 a year, and I'm making 3 times that amount as an influencer. So now we understand why these people lie, manipulate, and just are desperate to become
and will literally
influencers.
Go through anything.
Like drag through nails in hell to get
right.
Okay, let's get back to the Golden Bachelor. We got so much to cover. I don't know if we're going to be able to do too many more digressions. Okay, it started off with a beautiful backstory about Gerry's life and his devotion to his late wife, Tony. It was beautiful. He was very emotional in his handling of it. I thought they did it in as tasteful ways they could, because of the story that he's telling, and we got to see his daughters. We got to see the America react to him again. Mm-hmm. Very sweet, very cool. And it was only an hour up, so they kind of got right into it after that. We got our introduction, and it was a good introduction. But if you're hyped for the show like we are, you kind of knew a lot of this stuff was coming. So then we go straight to the limos, and you're right. It felt like The Bachelor. Mm-hmm. It felt like The Bachelorette. I mean, it's The Bachelor. It just, we're seeing them come up. I think they even, I don't know if they did it as stereotypically as the younger cast do it, but the Gerry, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And first out of the limo, Edith.
Which I think she is the prettiest of them all. Okay. I think she is the most beautiful. And I'm not even going to lie, when she came out and they popped that confetti, I had chills. Yeah. I was like, cool. Oh my goodness. Yeah. This is cute. But then they didn't show much of her.
She got a little bit
And she didn't really get a backstory. You know, when they get a backstory, it means they're going far. They want you to know their story.
Yeah, we only got an hour a week with this story, and there's not as many women. So I think they're going to be making sure they cram in development and character background on these women. So we just made the assumption that if we're seeing the extended, they pop up in their hometown, hi, I'm Jarrett.
Right.
This, then they're going to be either integral to the season or integral to his romantic story.
Right, exactly.
And Edith, you're right, didn't get that. Okay, some other standouts. Sandra from Atlanta. No, excuse me, Sandra from Atlanta.
Sandra.
She's a little bit unhinged.
She was glasses, right?
I think she was glasses.
She had the glasses?
Yeah. Kind of longer hair.
Oh, and she did because she did the zen
with the swear words.
She was like, I like to drop F-bombs.
Right. Later. And she's a little unhinged. She's going to bring a little wackiness to the season.
Sure, yeah.
Which is good. Yeah. She's someone's wacky aunt.
It'll be fun. She'll bring the fun. Grandma.
Yeah, she seems like she's going to be, man, it's hard to compare these to past contestants, even though you can. But, she reminds me of the girl in the dolphin suit. That's what she was known for, wearing a dolphin suit. She kind of swears a lot. She's got that, zen energy.
Alexis, exactly. I think, was her name.
Yeah, and so, that, again, not the best comparison, but that's what we got. So, then April. Miss Character herself.
Oh, she's giving therapists a bad name.
No, let's not do that. We have no idea about her profession or her qualities. She could be the greatest therapist on the planet.
I know.
And all she really did is be herself, which is a person who is really into herself. Really, you know what I'm saying? And that's fine.
Sure.
I don't think she's giving therapists a bad name.
She's happy. She seems like she's happy with who she is.
All I'm saying is I think we could separate her profession from her personality.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, she's crazy though. Even all that said, you could tell that she's going to be just the whacked crazy. I don't mean, can you even say crazy anymore? Just like the zany one.
Yeah, sure.
We'll talk about her later. I also got villain vibes from Kathy. Kathy's from Austin, Texas.
She's was she the one in the blue dress?
Yeah, who kind of leaned into the mic and had her eyes wide open.
She was giving me Luann de Lapis. Yeah, Real Housewives of New York. Luann.
At the end, she was like, I kept just looking at her and be like, pick me, I'm Kathy. But before that, I think, I didn't write down the dialogue, but I think she was like, man, look at these other women. doing all this crazy stuff. I wore a nice blue dress.
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, Captain. That's what I like. What I like seeing is like that they're not going too sickly sweet with that. That it's actually going to be there's going to be villains. We're going to get some contention. We're going to get some tension, which is another good reason the show is good. The formula is good.
Sure.
Patty, Matt's mom.
She
to
was
me
boring.
Always seemed like a stunt.
They just glossed over her.
Because not only I've always found her to be boring, even on Matt's season, and apparently so did Gerry. Because spoiler alert, she doesn't even make it past this episode.
Rip.
So, speaking of stunt casting, Aunt Chippy, Jimmy Kimmel's aunt, made an appearance. Little comedic relief. Little tie-in, ABC promotional tie-in. Faith, we later see she comes out. She got a backstory. She got good music multiple times throughout the episode, and we'll just jump to her little one-on-one. She
Oh my gosh! Wait a second. Faith was the one who came in on a motorcycle, right?
Right. She came in on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, well, you can live fast and not die young.
Yeah.
With me, it'll be the ride of your life." And then on top of that, in her one-on-one, she pulls out, I wish I had brought my guitar, pulls out the guitar.
Oh my gosh.
And just with the voice of an angel. I don't even care if it's just to further her music career late in life. She was a great singer.
Listen, I'm about to call
Beautiful
you out
singer.
for this because going back to the original Brooke statement, you have to admit that if the role was reversed and it was a man who brought his guitar night one and played and sang for her, you would have been cringed out and you would have been like, no, send him home.
Well, that's exactly, I said that at the very beginning. I said I don't even care if it's just for her to advance her music career. She sang beautifully. I enjoyed it.
Oh my god. What is the difference? Why is it okay for a girl to do it, but not okay for a guy to do it?
Well, I like listening to women sing.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
You thought you were gonna gotcha me? I'm not scared to admit my biases.
Whatever.
I prefer to listen to a woman sing than a man sing.
Oh,
so I have that blind side. If you want to sing to me,
I mean, I guess I need to learn guitar.
Oh, you know what? Hey.
Okay.
We'll talk after the pod.
All right.
Okay, and then other standouts, Faith. Oh, we talked about her, and then Susan. I thought it was hilarious. She has a great, like, upbeat, kind of funny personality.
I don't even remember her. Who is she?
She made a kind of crude joke as she was walking past Gerry. Which, but no, I think she's fun, and she's gonna be an interesting.
What was
part
she
of
wearing?
season.
I can't remember.
She was wearing a sparkly kind of like maybe like look almost like a tutu's.
Oh,
dress.
the purple.
She had the
she
short
has
hair.
The short dark hair.
Yeah.
She has great teeth. I don't know.
Yeah.
They might be fake, but they look bomb.
She looks to me to be the look. Okay, I'm about to say this. I think Kris Kardashian. I think Kris Kardashian is trying to achieve the look that Susan pulls off effortlessly.
What is Susan's?
That's what I think.
Did we get backstory on Susan? Like, what? Who was
if
she?
we got a backstory, we might have been busy with our son, but her occupation was listed as wedding. Officiant, which I think is just more like a funny story that they put.
Probably,
on
yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it. Right after that, they go straight to a little, almost like it wasn't around a table, or maybe like a coffee table, maybe. But they had a little round table with the women, and the conversations they were having in preparation for Gerry to walk in were just so mature and thoughtful, and there wasn't any when they do The Bachelor, I don't know, it just felt like, oh, okay, these women have lived life and they're more thoughtful, they're more mannerable, which again, that makes me, I'm not saying that, when we watch the 22-year-olds on the show, you know what I mean, not talking down on them.
Sure.
But it's just a different pace, and
sure.
I liked it.
Yeah.
And then Gerry comes and he just gives this really poised, really he's admitting he's nervous, but he did it in a very I don't know if he was a speaker. I have forgotten what his job was. I doubt it had to do with public speaker, but he definitely could be because he just rattled off. At least it was edited to look a very nice speech,
right?
About that first, like okay, it's time to start this. And I think some women were already smitten, and we got for the very first time in the history of the Golden Bachelor series, the first "Can I Steal You Away for a Second?"
Oh my gosh!
From April. April, again, she's going to be a character.
Right.
Her name is April. She stole him away, and she had a gift for Gerry. Gerry. She made him a calendar with her pictures, and every month was April.
Oh my gosh.
She said everything is April, which was pretty, she's going to bring the hilarity. She was bringing the flirt, she was. Of course. Touching him a little bit, ha, 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 giving a little extra umph in her laughs. And she said she was a little rusty on her flirt game, but she's ready to turn it up to 11 because she says she's very flirtatious. Ellen had a little sit down with Gerry as well, and he seemed to really connect with her, and he thought she was very I believe he said to her, "You are very attractive."
She's the blonde one that had the red lipstick on.
I don't remember, but she's the one who commented on how much she and her friend Roberta loved to watch the show.
Oh yeah,
and how it was just she was ready to find love, and we saw at the end of the episode, unfortunately, her friend, who she said had cancer, had passed away. So that was unfortunate. It was unfortunate her friend didn't get to see her participate in the show and get this chance at love later in life. But a sweet story, and hopefully Ellen is made better having been on the show. We talked about Faith. We talked about Leslie dancing. And man, again, it's an hour show because we're already at the first impression rose.
Right.
Gerry, walks around and says, hey, they placed the rose. You had to go get it from a group of women, and you got to see the look on their faces. Oh no, he's not picking us. Right. And then he walks and finds Faith, and wow. That speech, that first impression speech we heard from him was so sweet and so better, genuine. Right, so genuine, and most of the time the leads are sometimes it's not on the first impression rose, but when they're giving group date roses, they'll be like, Brooke, I thought our time together was great and I learned so much about you. Cameraman, or just whatever name, Leslie, I thought you really showed me a different side of you today. Sure, yeah. But April, you and I connected in a way I didn't think we could, and so for that reason, I'm giving. Right. No,
it is usually very generic.
No, he gave a very thoughtful, personal speech, and then said, I've given you, but and he covered a lot, but he just said, I'm giving this because you're making me the way you make me feel, and it was just very from the heart, and it's just a great thing. Yeah, I think, and so they have and this didn't happen. I said this out of order. Right before that, he had a really good sit down with Teresa. And Teresa was getting great music. Magnificent music for that little time, to the point where I was almost ready to call it and say he picks her. And then after that, it was her birthday, so he gave her a little birthday cupcake that she blew out the candle to. And after that, they had I would say a makeout session, or what you would call it at that age.
The first real kiss, yeah.
Yeah, and but she didn't get the first impression rose. No. You can tell these women now. I think that was a moment they realized, oh snap, right, right. So we had a lot of the women we expected, or at least that they were showed in the edit. They got their roses. We got some good looks from people. And we got some looks at people that we think are going to go far. Some, of course, got sent home. Some of these women, I was literally thinking, I actually wish they would do a thing where nobody had to go home this first night, so you can get a little more time to know him, but he didn't. The only notable person that I can think of that jumps out at me that, like we said, didn't make it was Patty, Matt James' mom. And, so that's where we're at with that. And then we got to see the preview. Oh, another thing, Gerry, it was emotional for him sending those women home. you could tell he did not want to break people's heart or disappoint people.
Right.
So that was really sweet.
Right.
Then we jumped into the preview for the season. And man, this looks like a good season.
Poor Gerry looks like he's going through it.
Oh, he's definitely going through it.
Oh my gosh, the tears.
Yeah.
The saying, this is as I haven't felt this.
He said the only thing that hurt harder was when his wife died.
Yes.
He said, but this is a pretty monumental second. So this is going to be bad. And then we got the I quit, I give up thing.
Yeah, the classic.
I'm in love with two women.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it was the classic hits, but I don't know. Like, everyone seems so genuine and involved.
Yeah.
Maybe it hurts more because these are people later in life. Because it was Ellen. She said, "You made it sound like it was me." And Ellen, we saw her in the previews multiple times saying, "I'm in love with you."
Yeah.
I'm not just falling in love with you. And he said, "Not too many people." I think she said that's the first time he's hearing that.
Yeah.
From someone besides his wife.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some heartbreak. We're gonna have some high highs. Looks like literally they were receiving a hot air balloon, and some low lows. So wow, yeah, we wish we could just go on and on about that, but it's only an hour episode, and we've got a lot to talk about on this podcast. Any other final words on on our coverage of the first episode of the Golden Bachelor?
I think I'm good.
What? Oh, you said I think I'm good.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were speaking English just now. Okay. I was like, what'd she say? Okay. Okay. Well, our other primetime show that we watched Thursday was Big Brother. And man, I thought last week was a snooze fest.
It was like, okay, but last week wasn't. Last week was good with the double eviction.
Yeah, but you remember I was kind of saying, like, it didn't feel like anyone happened because they all decided all week.
Oh yeah, true.
Cameron.
True.
And then we'll send Jarrett home, and that's exactly what happened. So it wasn't like surprising or anything.
At this point, it really kind of is like, okay, guys, we need some action.
Yeah, and people, I mean, you can go online and see all the stats. It's been, I think, man, I don't know the exact stats. I wish I'd looked it up. It's been so long since someone's actually gone home. The last person to go home was Izzy, and that was what, maybe 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Or 3? No, 2 weeks ago, yeah. And so, yeah, it's just like, oh, and remember we had a week where Jag got evicted but didn't go home. So people just, it just hasn't been, the stakes haven't been as high.
Right.
And okay, let's get to it. This week we had the zombies.
An unprecedented week for Big Brother.
Right, where the people in the double eviction literally came right back in the house and they couldn't participate in the HOH or veto, but no one could have because we didn't have an HOH this week. We didn't have a veto competition this week. We just had the zombie comp.
Right.
I think, did they call it the resurrection comp or the
probably, yeah,
live or die comp? It was something, and it was supposed to be scary verse week, but it was not a scary verse week.
No, nothing scary happened. They actually rewarded them.
They gave them
They gave them gift baskets with all kinds of fruit or food, snacks, drinks.
Right.
And then they had a celebration because they officially made it halfway. So they had a cake with their faces on it.
Right.
It just was like a weird week.
Yeah, there was things going on in the house, but I just think everybody was in limbo because they didn't know who was coming back.
Right.
And we saw on the Thursday, okay, and that was another thing. We didn't get a midweek episode.
Right.
Not counting the live eviction on Thursday or the live episode on a Thursday. It was just a Sunday episode in this one.
Right.
Although the Sunday episode was actually pretty good. I take that back
because we got to see the fallout from the double eviction.
The Felicia and Sari fight was pretty good.
Yes. And then we also got to see kind of the Blue and Jarrett fight.
Yeah, but that was more. I mean, that was inconsequential because they were literally going back to lovey-dovey kissing.
Yeah,
and, I'll be right back.
You're right, but at when the
feeds,
I
guess that's the same with Suri and Felicia.
Yeah, because when the feeds did come back on, Jarrett, we're seeing clips of Jarrett and Blue being like, yeah, well, you broke my trust, so I think we're just going to call it, like, this is over. And we were all just like, what the heck happened? Mm-hmm. And I guess what it was is that she knew that they were coming for him, and she didn't tell him. But what she also didn't tell him is that she was also acting... she was on board to get him out.
Exactly.
But then she probably never actually was on board.
Right.
But she was telling them that she was, and she was actually saying that to the camera, too.
And then she was also not telling, what's his name? Jarrett. So that's why he felt the betrayal.
Right.
But again, like she said, he had done that to her a lot by being involved in alliances that she knew nothing about.
Right.
But yeah, that was interesting. But again, they were a couple days later. Oh, if I leave, I'm gonna go meet your parents, and let's exchange our.
I just can't even imagine. Like, do you think he was saying that to joke, or do you think he was just? There's no way he was serious, right?
Well, I wouldn't do that with someone that I just broke up with, and I don't. You know what I'm saying?
Or when you had a girlfriend waiting for you on the outside too?
Right. So yeah, people are like, "Oh, he was just joking," but don't you don't even have to say stuff like that. You know
yeah, you're right.
So yeah. But the Felicia Suri fight was good. They kind of got into it, and but again, they kind of somewhat made up. I don't know. They're definitely not gonna work as closely, but they're on better terms. Mm-hmm. Long story short, in Big Brother this week. Oh, another thing that happened, kind of just on tangentially. This isn't even gameplay. I guess we'll call it. We were doing Showmance Watch, but there's really we've stalled out. Cormerica. They're just up in their physicality every week, and we just talked about Blue and Jared, but that was a farce. But Corey and America are in the shower, KISSING.
Oh my gosh!
And they showed that on the show this Thursday when we saw it on the feeds. Felicia and Jag kind of like mischievously walking in the bathroom to be like, "Where's America? Have you seen her?" And she hid behind the frosted glass so they wouldn't see it. But again, I'm just like, we didn't get any gameplay. Nothing like substantial. Nothing that really moved the momentum of the game forward.
Right.
It was cool to see. They show this on the show as well. Matt discussing how that he can read people, because he can read people's lips, and the smart people realize that, how they'll sometimes cover their mouse, and so even from across the room he can see when people are trying to hide secrets from him.
Right.
Very cool. We saw Cameron. He won. He won a little comp where you balance the balls and keep as many in there.
That one looked so hard to me.
It did look hard, but
they've done that for HOH, haven't they? Or maybe Veto.
They've done that for, I can't remember one, but they've definitely done a version of that comp for something before. And I think just like everyone pretty much expected, Cameron won that. So he had the option to decide in Thursday night, the live competition, whether he did it or didn't, to decide who stays or goes. And of course, he wanted to have the power in his hands. He did it. It was the classic Big Brother 14 Frankie Grande, navigate the ball with the ropes and wires up into a whole competition. He wins. He had to do it in... Okay, so he had 3 minutes to do this because there were 3 balls set up at the station. We thought he had to do it 3 times in a row.
Right.
And he had 3 minutes to do that. And even that we thought he would do. But when it took him a minute and a half to get one and it fell off, we thought he had to do all 3. And we're like, well, it's over.
Yeah.
But I guess we all heard that wrong.
Right.
Because he only had to do one. And then he did the next one really quickly.
Okay, but can we go back and revisit the Frankie Grande comment? Because if you recall, it was supposed to be done in teams, and his teammate was Beast Mode Cowboy, and Beast Mode Cowboy refused to help him because they wanted to backdoor him, and he won all on his own, and of course was, over the moon happy about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I feel like we have to touch on that.
Yeah, that's definitely harkened back to that. We actually thought it might be harkening. We actually thought the competition, I think it's because, quote unquote, a source leaked it online that it was going to be the Caitlin Herman puzzle comp from BB20. But it was not. And
well, they leaked I saw it.
And I think maybe we just thought it was the wrong
thing. You just couldn't tell what it was.
Right. So Cameron wins, comes back in the house. Jarrett comes home. No, Jarrett goes, well, is he Jarrett's in jury?
No.
He's home?
Because the final two from the live eviction, they were supposed to go home, and then it was going to start jury.
Right,
so he's home.
So he's just home.
Yeah.
Kenzo.
Time to speak out, girly.
Right.
Time to speak up and speak out.
So yeah. So anyways, Cameron's back in the house. Well, some people want to send him right back out. We're gonna see who wins HOH. That's really gonna dictate the next few weeks of the season. And so Jarrett in his little eviction speech with Julie, or not speech, in his goodbye interview with Julie teared up a lot.
Incredibly emotional.
Very emotional.
Incredibly emotional.
He claimed it was because of the thought of his mom, and I believe it. You spent the last 50 days or so with your mother in a room, and now you're not going to be in there with her, and you're wondering about how she's going to do without you. But she'll be fine. Actually, I don't know if Jarrett knows this, but she's a superstar reality,
right?
Reality competition player.
Right. What did Jarrett say that made us be like, oh, he's ready to get into his reality TV era?
His last comment, she was like, anything less to say? And he said, I don't know what he said before this, but he ended it with saying, I hope this isn't the last you see of me.
Yeah.
And I think everyone in America was like, boo.
Yeah.
We don't want this anymore.
But he's gonna be on the challenge. He's gonna be everywhere.
I think that's what's gonna happen to him. He'll become a challenge regular.
Yeah.
Or CBS might just want Suri to be the first person to do the trifecta.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing Race.
How amazing would that be?
Survivor and Big Brother.
How amazing would that be?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
But
how many times was she on Survivor?
I think like 4 or 5.
Because this has been going on a long time.
I think I saw the first one she was in is like 2007 or something. Oh my gosh. It's basically her career, but more power to her,
Right.
No, she actually has a career. She's a surgical director.
Yeah.
A director, something medically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she definitely has a great side hobby, winning reality TV shows.
I mean, talk about a hobby.
Right? So that's it for Big Brother, where you have the live feeds up, waiting to see if something happens. If we see who wins, or we see who wins HOH, you can hear it on the People's Rose as you listen to the podcast. Okay, and now it's time for Brooke's Buzz. Brooke, what do you got?
Buzz. On Full House, they had this thing, and it was like they were in like the Busy Bees.
Yeah,
it was like the Girl Scouts, and they would sing this song. I pledge my love and loyalty. Buzz, 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 buzz. Yeah. And every time we say Brooke's Buzz, I think of that. Okay, sorry, I just had to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Lots of news coming out of Bachelor Nation. Okay. We have Caelynn and Deanie babies are married.
I saw that. Very
I
cool.
never thought that I would see the day.
Really?
Yeah. I just didn't think he was, the marrying type.
You have this weird thing with Dean. I think
I
we just
do have
Dean
a weird thing with Dean. I don't
completely
know.
Differently. We just
I don't know if I have like a I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah. And their wedding looked cool. They had like a tattoo artist at the
It looked like they had a lot of fun. He walked down
reception.
the aisle to Just Lose It by Eminem.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, then Becca and Thomas had a baby.
Congrats.
So congrats to the little bachelor baby.
Very cool.
Okay, let's talk about Michael and Danielle. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
I was not going to give this story the time of day because, you know, who cares? But the juice got pretty hot. I mean, what? The tea got pretty hot.
Yeah.
The tea got pretty hot. So, I don't even, do you know that Danielle Maltby? What's Michael's last name?
Aiello.
Aiello,
I think is how it's pronounced.
Well, so they met in Paradise. Their relationship formed out of Paradise. And he was
Not this current season, the season last year.
Yeah, but he was a little, it was not a good look for him in Paradise. Remember he was with that one girl, Sierra, and she really liked him. And she was way out of his league. Because she was hot.
Right.
And he dumped her.
Yeah.
And then Danielle comes in and he's like, oh, I was waiting for Danielle, basically.
Right.
And so, you know, they seemed like a pretty good fit.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever, rooting for them, but also kind of don't care. Well, so they leave Paradise, they're together. She moves to his city.
Yeah, right.
Because he has a son, right? And but they don't move in together.
Right.
And so, you know, she's, I guess, just trying to find her way in this city. Well, it came out last week that they had broken up.
Right, but there had been smoke or fire to it for a while now, yeah.
But from what?
Just, you know, I guess people, the sleuths on are the Bachelor and stuff like that.
Oh,
Bachelor
okay.
Reddit is what it's called and all that good stuff.
So yeah, they broke up. Well, then she comes out with a statement, and she's like, okay, well, I did not know we were announcing it. Right. I'm hearing it like y'all are hearing it. Right. Like, I'm sure they had talked about it, but she didn't know, like, the official statement was coming out.
Right.
And then she said it was not mutual.
Right.
It was very much one-sided.
Right.
Which, oof, that's tough. That's tough to be like, listen, I got dumped, right?
Not only this, and then that she said she was mourning the loss of her connection with James, his son, so that was also part of it.
See, that's a tough thing too when you have the kids involved. So then she also says that it was one day after she had just gone through the freezing of the eggs process.
Right.
And if you don't know anything about the freezing of the eggs process, it's a very long process.
Right.
You have to do like hormone shots before, and then it's like a surgery when they take them out and freeze them.
It was the day after the shots.
Yeah.
Right.
So, well, no, it was the day after the procedure, right? Like
the shots, I thought.
Well, the shots are like you do them every day for a month.
Well, maybe it was one of those days.
Oh. Well, regardless, while she's going through this egg freezing process is when it happened.
Yeah.
Which is pretty savage, you know? But I guess it's like, don't stay with someone. I mean, you shouldn't just stay with someone because of that. Like, if you're really done, you should be done, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, like, were they having talks about, like, let's grow a family together? Or was she freezing her eggs because he was like, yeah, I don't really know. I'm unsure. And she's like, well, that's what I want for my future, so I'm going to do this for me.
Right.
I don't know. Hard to say. But regardless, it's over, and I'm on... what if he shows up in Paradise? I'm just kidding.
No,
I know it's already filmed.
I know. He's also too old.
I know. Okay, so that's all from Bachelor Nation. Now I'm going to go into the Kardashians because the new season of Kardashians started on Hulu, and the first episode was I don't even know what to call it. It came in with a bang, okay?
Right.
It comes in with this family trip to Cabo, but Courtney's not there because her and Kim had this fight where they continued to fight over Kim's Dolce campaign and how Courtney thought that she copied her and she stole her ideas and blah blah blah, and how Dolce was her thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then Courtney is like, well, it's really not even about that. It's basically, Courtney's like, it's really about you as a person. I just don't like you.
Right.
Like, you are a narcissist. I don't like you. You only care about yourself. You only think about yourself. And she's probably not wrong.
Yeah, Courtney's felt this way for a while now. I felt like this has been her storyline. Not that I watched the show or the shows, but I feel like she's been acting like this for maybe
for
5 years now or so, right?
Years. Which is why I'm kind of like, why are you even still engaging?
The money.
Well, yeah, but she claims to not care about the money. But I'm like, there's a certain point where you just realize you either accept the relationship and realize the conditions that it has,
mm-hmm.
or you just cut him out of your life.
Right.
And I think she's at a point where she's like, I don't really want to cut him out of my life, but I also don't really want to accept it is what it is.
Right.
And so she's like still fighting but Kim's like, you're miserable, Courtney. All of your friends are asking me if you're okay and what's wrong with you and why you're so miserable. And we have our own separate group chat about it.
Right.
And Courtney's just like, what? And Kim's like, everyone does it. Everyone talks about it and everyone's back. And Courtney's like, I don't. I definitely don't have separate group chats where I'm talking about you because I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care enough to do that. And Courtney's like, I'm happy when I'm not around y'all.
Yeah.
Which is kind of harsh and kind of tough, but it's like, I mean, I guess it might be true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I feel like Courtney is not, she's not capable to just let Kim be Kim, even if Kim is a narcissist.
Right.
You know? And that's where I'm kind of like, what is that about, Courtney?
I don't know. I don't know. I think they're all very, no, I don't know.
Come on. Let's get your
No, I was just going to say, I think they're all very, very just seeing it. From what I can tell, I literally just saw a clip of that argument, but just what I know about them. I mean, they're all very self-involved.
Sure.
I mean, to the most part. And she's talking about Kim's narcissism and how, she just is tired of it. But at some point, it's because of how she feels about Kim's narcissism, which, I mean, it's like that's just how you perceive life or whatever. But that's all I was saying. Like, she doesn't want it to be that way because she doesn't want her sister to be a narcissist. So,
right. And it's like your sister, right? Like, as a woman who has sisters, like, yeah, you want a relationship with your sisters,
mm-hmm.
And if you see your sister acting in a certain way, then of course you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if that's the best way to be. Right? But I just think the way she's going about it is not the best.
Which one?
Courtney.
Yeah, I just don't think they like each other. She said it in that clip. She said, I hate you, just don't like you, and she's like, I don't feel happy about you.
Yeah.
So whether that's temporary or whatever, I mean, at some point, maybe they just don't get along together,
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have. Short segment today.
A quick buzz.
I mean, I watched the other shows, but I don't really have any hot takes except for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. It's good. It's good? Getting pretty good.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Not gonna lie.
Okay,
it's pretty good.
Maybe we'll have more from that then in the coming weeks.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. This is the time where we would talk about other shows. But I mean, it feels like we just got so many A-list shows. Like we said at the beginning of the episode, or the beginning of the podcast episode, for those who are watching on YouTube, there's got so much that some shows are going to get relegated.
Yeah.
So just because we're only talking about them briefly, doesn't mean they're not A-list shows in our household.
Right.
But one of those shows is The Amazing Race, we watched the 90-minute episode of that, it kind of felt to me like a little more old school.
It felt so old school. I think because there wasn't anybody we already knew, right? It's all new people we're meeting. They went back to commercial airfare. No more private charters.
Yep.
They had an express pass.
Yep.
And they had, there's something else.
Well, they'll be bringing back the U-turns, but not every episode. Yeah, but yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
We had, I think, I forgot how many racers. I think we have more teams this time because there's no. This is a one downside. I think there is no, like, every leg is an elimination leg, and so if you come in last, it's a guaranteed you're going home on a leg.
Yeah.
So that the stakes are high, and I think the teams are going to be good. Again, we don't have much time to spend on Amazing Race, but. Are any teams that jump out at you that stand out? The team that went home was kind of the awkward brother and sister.
Yeah.
I mean, they were interesting, but they weren't going to last much longer if they made it through this week. But are there any teams that you stand out or you're rooting for or you think are going to be interesting or funny?
Yeah, the brothers who are black. That's the only way. Yeah, sorry, the Black brothers. What's their story?
They're just brothers.
And they were saying like they're.
I mean, one's a software engineer, and then the other one I think they're just both in tech. I think.
I don't know, but they just both seem like they're going to be good. They're smart.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be good.
They're athletic. I think they're going to be good.
Yeah. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, I think there's a Texas father and daughter that'll be interesting.
Oh yeah, they're cute.
I always like to root for the Texas teams, and then.
And she has red hair, so obviously I'm going for her.
I can't. Nobody else is jump. I mean, I'm seeing teams. I'm remembering some, but those that are just like jumping out at me. Oh, I think the deaf dad and his son. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Rooting for them, and then I don't know if I'm rooting for them yet, but they'll be interesting to watch. And I think I'm rooting for the Asian couple. They're older. They both work 12 hours a day, and they're like using this as an opportunity to connect with one another.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. They have a good dynamic, even though they're like very upfront about them like trying to refine themselves in the context of their love and relationship. They still, to me, had a very friendly, loving relationship.
Right. And they got first, right? Didn't they?
No.
Oh. Who got first?
Did they get first? They might have gotten first.
I thought they did, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think they did, actually.
I think they did.
The deaf dad and his son got second.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, what is this? Is there like... I'm just thinking there's this... The man that's deaf on this, deaf on Big Brother, and deaf on 90 Day Fiancé.
Well, I don't know about 90 Day Fiancé, but I know, remember CPS has like, they're trying to be more diverse in their reality TV show casting.
Yeah.
So that includes, sex, gender, I'm a guess, ability. I don't know how you classify that. Sexual preference. I think they're just across the board, they're casting more diverse, which is going to make for a lot more unique perspectives.
Yeah.
So that's Amazing Race. What's another show that got relegated? And again, we love The Amazing Race. We've seen so many seasons of The Amazing Race. We could do a podcast. We could have just recapped every season of Amazing Race.
If we go through a dry spell of reality TV, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, but to be honest, I feel like now there's at least one thing to talk about.
I mean, yeah, week. You're right.
Okay, but what else though? Okay, what other shows got relegated?
Bachelor in Paradise?
Yes. Okay, so let's explain Bachelor in Paradise. Yeah. Bachelor in Paradise comes on after Golden Bachelor, which we talked about on the podcast. But man, it's 2-hour episodes. So on Thursdays, Bachelor in Paradise and
Big Brother
and the Golden Bachelor are just realistically too much because Love is Blind. We got 4 episodes of that coming up. So just like this episode is coming out the Friday that Love is Blind, that the second batch of episodes of Love is Blind is out, we're only going to be talking about last week's because, of course, that's all we've had time to see and record. And the Bachelor in Paradise will be the same. So even though you'll be listening to this after Bachelor in Paradise has come, we're just going to have to lag a week behind because in order for us to watch, that would be 4 hours of reality TV.
Listen.
And then recording a podcast and then editing it. And yeah, it's just not.
We're old. We can't do it.
No, it's just not enough time.
No,
We're not.
I know.
If it was our main job, we could do it, but it isn't. So it's a hobby.
But you could help us make it one.
Sure.
For Jarrett.
So anyways, Bachelor in Paradise we will talk about here, but we just don't have time to. I mean, we don't have time to. We haven't watched it yet, so you'll hear about it next week.
Yes.
Any other things? Oh, this would be time for my sports segment, but I just got to be honest, I didn't have time.
Oh, fumbled the play.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have time to get to it.
Is that a sports terminology? Was that good?
You'll have to figure that one out.
Okay.
Let Brooke know if that was correct or not.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, like I just didn't get to it. We'll get to it next week. I think what I'm thinking of, I'm going to do a ranking next week. I didn't have time to research. I really have to start with the baseline of who is who, and that takes me to sitting down and do it. I haven't done it yet. But I also am thinking, just to keep us trending, relevant, of watching the Jason Kelsey show with him and his wife and family. That's, I believe, on Prime, because I don't know why the Kelseys are in the news. So who knows why the Kelseys might be in the news? But anyways, I'll watch that because it's a reality
comment on that.
It's a reality TV show, and it's sports, so that's right up my alley.
Even before T Swift got in the picture, I knew about the Kelseys, which is weird for me to know. Sports people, that means they're big time. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
There's like 3 football players I can name. They were 2 of them.
Okay.
So.
Here's you just gave our sports segment for this week. Okay, so we're not gonna rank reality TV. We're not gonna rank reality TV couples this week with sports couples this week because Jarrett didn't do his research. But in 60 seconds, we're gonna see how many sports people Brooke can name.
Oh my god!
This isn't relevant to reality TV at all, but hey.
Oh my god! From any type of sport or only
football?
Only football?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
Okay.
Do they have to be active players?
What was that?
Do they have to be active players?
Yes, active players. 60 seconds on the clock.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Brooke, you have 60 seconds to name as many football players active in the NFL as you can, starting right now.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, good.
Jason Kelsey.
Okay.
The other Kelsey.
Doesn't count.
Oh my, Travis. Travis Kelsey.
Okay.
JJ Watt.
And
Croy Bierman.
Nope.
Deion Sanders?
No, definitely not. We're at 3.
Wait, isn't he a coach?
I said active NFL players, and he's not in the NFL.
Okay.
Currently, as a coach at least. Okay, you got 15 seconds left.
Jonathan Watkins.
Okay. This might not make the cut. We might just delete this segment altogether.
Troy Aikman.
5, 4, 3, 2. All right.
I feel like I know more. The pressure was on.
Yeah. Sorry. We're gonna give you some real sports content next week. Okay. Sorry about that. So maybe I'll have a report on the Kelseys to keep us involved, but maybe I won't. It's my segment. I'll do what I want.
Whatever.
Okay. So that's it for the rest of the shows that we're not going to get to, but we do have some A-list shows that we do want to get to left, and that is, like we said before, Love is Blind. We got 4 episodes of that, so we are so happy that this show's back, aren't we, Brooke?
Oh my gosh, yes. The worst thing about it is that you only get 4 episodes at a time. But obviously they're doing that for a reason.
Well, yeah, that's the best thing about it. I think in streaming now, when they unloaded all at once, it's like not best for like getting the flow and the show to build momentum. if it had come out all at once, I think we know that we are psychotic enough that we would have binged it this past weekend.
I mean,
and
true.
been ready to talk about it with everyone, and they'd be like, "Oh, I haven't got to it yet."
True.
And then it's like, "Oh, okay," you know what I mean?
Valid.
But
yeah.
now it's we go with the flow, and eventually we get to the point. Like we all arrive at the same point together.
Right.
People who are watching the show.
Right. But we almost watched them all in one night.
That's my point.
We
yeah.
were like it. They always gotta leave you with the cliffhanger.
Right. But like this gives people the opportunity for us to all kind of be at the same pace, and so we can all be talking about it at the same time.
Right.
So yeah, let's talk about it. This season of Love Is Blind is a special season for the People's Rose, for Brooke and I, because it's in the H. It's in H-Town.
Wait, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. We have to talk about the boots on the ground that we have.
Do we really?
Yes.
Okay, we do. We're doing very vague, names, no names,
no nothing.
No clues, no hints.
Spoiler alert.
No spoiler alert is needed because we're not telling any spoilers.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
We have insider scoop from as residents of Houston, Texas.
Right, but I don't want to give away. That would give away our sources.
No, it will not.
Yes, it will.
Give it away to who?
Give it away to our 12 loyal listeners. And then it'll spread, and it'll get to some person, and they'll be like, "Oh wow, you told such and such."
Yeah, and then it'll be like we have the tea, the piping hot tea.
No, I'm talking about our sources. You don't want them, the person. Okay, we have a source who knows someone on the show. And because of what they know, we also know about the outcome of something on the show.
Yeah.
But if we say what we know, and that person just happens to hear, because this episode of People's Rose is about to be, wow, this is going to be the one that goes crazy viral. Then they're going to be like, wow, you told? You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, not a chance.
Journalistic integrity, Brooke. This is the People's Rose. That
person has probably told hundreds of people at this point,
including us, and then we would be the one that gave it away. You see what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh,
we're the one with the platform. We're the ones with the responsibility. That's why I say I think that's as specific as we should go.
Fine, I'll just say this.
Wait, actually say whatever you want because I edit the podcast. So go ahead.
One of the couples I know does not make it because of the fact that he is dating somebody new. He or she? He.
Oh, that's you switched it for he because you didn't want him to know it was a she. That was smart. Very smart.
You are getting way too paranoid.
No,
this is what the people want.
This isn't paranoia. It's called journalistic integrity.
Okay.
You should watch The Newsroom by Aaron Sorkin.
Okay. Anyways. Now you're mansplaining.
Brooke, we are on minute 4 and we have yet to say anything about the actual episodes.
Okay.
I'm looking at our analytics live, and all of our listeners have left.
But I'm telling you, this is what the people want to know.
Okay.
So I'm here to report.
Yeah, we know it doesn't make it, but because we love I gotta find another way to say journalistic integrity. Because we respect people's privacy, we're not going to get too specific. Okay. We also have another person that knows someone who was on the show or is acquainted with them, but they weren't really on the show.
No, they were just on 1 second of episode 1.
Exactly, less than 5 seconds of it. Unless, it's a long season. You never know who might make another appearance, circle back. You know how Love Is Blind can get.
That is true because, as they have said in the past, there are couples who come out of the show, but we just don't follow them. Which, honestly, they maybe needed to this season because it appears that there's only 3 couples we're following.
Right. Okay, we're going to get to all of that. But yeah, I was talking about more how, sometimes, you remember in previous seasons, it's just we've had people who were who didn't make it to Mexico or to the destination, the honeymoon or what is it called? just the getaway.
Whatever, yeah.
The getaway, but are still involved in like the parties and become plot lines later. That's what I meant.
And it does appear that because of the messiness, we are going to see people.
We're going to see a lot more people
who weren't coupled
Brooke
up.
and I are big time preview watchers, so we like
we analyzed those.
We locked in the previews. If there's Brooke and I will dissect a preview. It's like
it's like a treasure hunt.
It's like no, it's like film room. If those are familiar with sports, Brooke and I are watching the tapes, seeing what we can see. So yeah, Brooke, you kind of said it, but we're in Houston. Like I said, we're really excited about this, and we were excited about the prospect of it being in Houston. But so far, man, we're only getting 3, which would look to be the smallest amount, right?
Right.
That The Love Is Blind has followed. And the other 3 we're getting, we're going to get into the details of it. Brooke, are you rooting for any of these couples? Do you think any of them are going to make it?
I just can't.
Obviously, we know one doesn't.
Okay. Well, aside from that, I just can't. There's no like, oh my gosh, these people are perfect for each other arc like we've had in past seasons.
There's no love story.
There's no Cameron and Lauren. There's no Brett and Tiffany. Brett and Tiffany, is that her name? And, I guess we've had seasons like that before, but it's just kind of like, ugh. I think JP and Ashley do have potential.
They don't, because you don't even remember their names.
What's her name?
Taylor.
Oh, sorry. She looks like such an Ashley to me.
Okay.
JP and Taylor have potential, but I just really feel like she is too fake for him. Like, I don't think he's gonna like. Well, I go back and forth because I'm like, is he gonna like or be okay with the bleaching of the hair, the eyelash extensions, the lip injections, or I feel like it could go either way. One way he could be like, oh, she's so freaking hot, or he could be like, oh, I just like a natural, not high maintenance woman.
Well, I think you're looking at it from the exact opposite perspective of what's going to be the deal breaker.
What?
He doesn't care. He's just a firefighting guy, flag on his back kind of dude. She's the one who, after they met, was like, "Oh, his teeth are kind of weird." Oh, and I never really go for short guys like that.
She did say
and
that.
I just imagine a tall blonde guy. It was her who was the one who didn't like his appearance. He said nothing, and there's nothing in the previews about her appearance.
She was like, in the real world, I would not date someone with teeth.
Yeah, but I don't think he has any problem with her. I think he's just going to be fine.
That's valid.
There's so many guys that I think fit his prototype that are just like, I love her, man. I don't really, we just connected, and she could be blue and green with purple hair for all I care. Just as long as me and Taylor, make it through.
They both seem pretty countrified.
Yeah, maybe, but this is Houston, so you can only get so country. And then
they might not be from here.
Well, I think he's from. We've done a deep dive. I think he's from the outskirts of town. Maybe it was Sealy or something. I can't remember.
That checks out.
But yeah, I don't think he's gonna have any problem with her. It's her. Literally. If you see these after interviews of after they meet, okay, we're gonna get some order. We're gonna go in order of the episodes. But anyways, we're gonna finish this. She's the only one. After they meet, most people are like, oh, he wasn't what I pictured, but it was just so sweet. It felt so right, and it was a little weird to connect to the person, but I was just so happy. You know what I mean? Hers were just like, well, yeah, I think, yeah. Well, normally I wouldn't go for someone with teeth like that, but yeah.
And remember, too, she was like, there were some awkward silences, and it would be like that in the pods, but I would just, fill them with stuff. She can only do that for so long. That's my
point. I think if anyone's going to have trepidations based on appearance, it's going to be her. So let's go through it episode by episode. We got to start off with episode 1. And we are going to cover the first 4 episodes. Episode 1, title. I don't have the title for every single episode, but you can never forget the title of this episode. This one was So You're a Recent Cheater, which was what a great reveal for a title. How they do the quotes for the title. Of course, we're talking about Uche and Aaliyah sitting there, and they have the connection. before we get to the cheating, man, Brooke and I were already cringing because we were just like, at least I was like, once they announced that they were both spoken word poets, I said, I cannot stand to hear someone recite poetry.
Oh, great, it's coming. The poetry is coming.
Oh, gosh.
Listen, I was cringing about the pods for another reason. It finally hit me that as a therapist watching them in the pods, I feel like I'm at work. Because we're sitting in a room, they're on a couch, they're telling their most vulnerable things.
Yeah.
And so I was like going into therapy mode, and I was like, no, like I want to enjoy this. I don't want to go and try to listen and help and feel right like I do in session. Right. So yeah, that now I'm realizing why the pod part of it is so hard for me to get through.
Yeah.
And then when they do meet each other, it's just cringe.
Yes, you're right. So Uche and Aaliyah, he was talking to Aaliyah mostly. We saw him briefly have conversations with others that kind of fell off. They literally, in this first episode, there was a lot of people that looked like that. Like Carter, like talked a little bit. The big country doll. He was a real country kid. He was maybe 6'100".
The fisherman.
Yeah, he got a little episode. We got. There was a couple of the black women on the show got some airtime, and that first one, like for instance, Uche was talking to Miriam for a little bit, and she was psycho. She literally could not answer her job. Uche is already kind of an interviewer, like he's doing job interviews, and she's just straight up. He was like, "So what do you do?" He's like, well, and he's like, "Okay," and then she's like, "Well," and then she was just lies.
She was really evasive, but I am wondering if it was like maybe her work she couldn't tell the details.
No, I think it's because she's a scammer. I think she's a Instagram
influencer.
Yeah, that's what people are deducing online, that she just sells those fake makeup things, and maybe like it's not as reputable, or like it's like she doesn't want publicity because maybe she just, I don't know. So yeah, so there's a lot of people that got airtime but kind of fell off.
Wait, another thing too about that, when I went back and watched that, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'm moving back to River Oaks." You gotta have monies to live in River Oaks.
Right, but she didn't say she lived in River Oaks. Like
he said, what area are you moving back to?
Right, but ask me what area I'm moving back to.
Oh, so you think that's
I'm
part
moving
of the
back
scam.
To Beverly Hills in a couple weeks. Well, I'm in an apartment in Katy, but as soon as this podcast thing takes off, which, it's that easy. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
We already can't trust what she's saying.
Yeah.
So, and then we didn't see her again. Like, literally, I didn't even show her in the, like, waiting room or lobby or whatever, the gathering room.
True.
We don't see her again, that I can recall. So, Uche talked to a bunch of the people, and like I said, they didn't fall. But he had a connection with Aaliyah. They do spoken word. She's from Japan. He's from Nigeria. Well, she's actually from all over the place.
Yeah, they both like to travel.
Both like to travel. She's driven. She's a travel nurse, but she would be willing to be an entrepreneur because he's a lawyer, but is by trade, but owns a software company. They're really vibing and connecting, and they, things are going so well that he asks her what her deal breakers are, or she does, and he says honesty. He just really appreciates honesty, and she goes, "Yeah, me too." And I don't remember how they exactly got to cheating, and she was like, "Yeah." But basically, he asked her, "Hey, have you ever cheated before?" She was like, "Yeah, but it was for a good reason." And he was like, "What's the reason?" She's like, "Yeah, just the sex wasn't good, so had to cheat." And Uche was devastated, but not just devastated. He was very judgmental.
Well, yeah, she was like, "Remember, I told you how important that is to me," because they had already had that talk or whatever.
Right. Well, it's just like, listen, by the time you're hearing this conversation, or maybe you just watched the episode. Anyways, there's been tons of discourse about this online. I think I'm going to boil it down to this. Cheating is not right under any circumstances. Right. Just break up with the person. Hopefully, if you can do that, just break up with them. And don't lead anybody on. Don't hurt or betray anybody's trust.
Right.
There really is no good reason. If you weren't being satisfied, move on. Right.
Right.
But that turned into a whole big thing. I think she was being very dramatic. Do you think she was being dramatic, or do you think she had the right to do? And maybe she had the right to do what she was doing, but it was more of the whimpering.
Listen,
I don't want to. This is, I mean, go watch the episode. This is the best impression ever. I just don't want to lose him.
Stop! Oh my gosh, I think there's something about this experience that makes them more dramatic.
Oh, I think it's the cameras and the reality TV producers. That's
yeah, it's definitely the producers egging it on. But it's also, I think, just the fact that they are so stripped down to nothing. They have no phones. They have no social media. They have nothing. So they are like fully invested in these for the moment, right? For the moment.
Yeah. I think here's another thing.
Now I'm dramatic, so who am I to call somebody? So yeah, I mean, I think she was being dramatic, but when I say like she was doing too much, no, never. Do you, girl?
Yeah, we're losing the plot here a little bit, but I think in general, on this show especially, Love is Blind. To be on this show, either it's by casting decision or the people who apply, there has to be something a little bit off about you. And that's just my personal opinion. And I don't mean that in a mean way, because there's tons of people, including myself probably, walking around that have something a little bit off about them, right? And it might be desperation, it might be drama, it might be insanity. We've seen that on the show.
So sorry, go ahead and then I'll ask my question.
No, go ahead.
If you were single, you wouldn't have wanted to go audition?
On Love is Blind?
Yeah.
Well, let me think about that. I'm going to say no. No, I just wouldn't do that.
I would have. I would have wanted to.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Moving on. Uche and Aaliyah, at least after episode 1, don't work it out. Our other couples, like we talked about already, JP and Taylor.
Yeah, at the end of episode 1, they're on the fritz.
Right, JP and Taylor.
And Lydia is consoling Aaliyah. That's when we first see.
No, well, we see Lydia. Let's talk about Lydia. Yeah, Lydia's consoling her, and we know. Well, let's just talk about their whole storyline.
We'll get into that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so like I said, JP and Taylor, we've talked about them.
Yeah.
And then at this point, there's Izzy and Stacy. There's Izzy and Lydia. And there's Izzy and Johnny.
Yeah, like what is this? Izzy seems to be a hot commodity.
I think on the show you can pick up people who are charismatic, and you can still you can see confidence, or quote unquote see it, even with not being able to see anything.
Yeah, true.
For on the off chance that you don't know what Love is Blind is, and you're also 18 minutes in this conversation, just to be clear, Love is Blind is a show on Netflix where couples date each other without seeing each other. They can only talk and communicate with each other through a wall, and then they decide whether or not they want to get engaged. And you're dating multiple people, so you have people to choose from whether or not you want to get engaged. And if you do, then you meet each other. You spend about, maybe, we don't really know, it's like 1 to 3 months dating in the real world, and then the season culminates in a wedding where at the altar people decide whether or not they are going to in fact get married.
It's dramatic.
Right. Okay. We've done our due diligence. Izzy, Stacy, Izzy, Johnny, Izzy, Lydia. At this moment, Izzy, I feel like connects and vibes with Lydia, just maybe because she has high energy. It's at episode 1. It was kind of, I don't really remember, but you could already see that it was not going to be her.
She was very into him.
But she was very into him.
She was like, you're my number 1.
Right.
And that's when he was like, oh.
Yeah, because his number 1 tied with Johnny and Stacy.
Yes.
Stacy is I'm not like other girls. Stacy is oh, I have a bunch of guy friends. And
Stacy gives off corporate energy.
But not corporate HR laced up, like vibe, go have fun, go out.
Yeah, like corporate marketing.
Right. But I just wanted to be clear. Yeah, she's like she's the girl that she said, like, yeah, I'll go to the bar with the guys, slap you on the butt. And yeah, not corporate, like, all right, guys, it's time for our 10 a.m. Zoom meeting.
I'm talking like corporate.
Well, you've never been.
I have been corporate.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Just helping paint the picture. Okay, so anyways, so that's option 1 for Izzy, and then you've got Johnny, who is, well, he claimed more vulnerable, but I don't really know.
I would say she was. She was more vulnerable. She was just more, yeah. I mean, she was more serious.
Right.
She was still fun, I think, but she didn't have this, like, let's go out, let's drink, let's party. There's no worries energy.
Right.
She had some, like, I've been through some stuff energy.
Right, you're right. Okay, so she did, and she has, which we'll get to. She also is talking to Chris. Mm-hmm. So Johnny has 2 options, Izzy and Chris. Izzy, of course, is Izzy, charismatic, seemingly fun. And then Chris, she seems to have a deeper connection with. Chris also, just very quickly, for some reason, this first episode, they really wanted to hammer home sex. And there was like a dedicated segment to that. I can't remember them doing that in the past. And I understand that's a part of it, but like, this was like, the question was like, it was like, it was like board game, questions. Like, I don't even remember what they were.
Yeah, what is that?
But it was just like, what's your favorite position? What's your, like, those kind of stuff. Okay, but she asked, and like stuff about virginity, which leads to Johnny. She asked Chris one of these questions. I think she told her story. She may or may not. Chris told his story. His story, he was sexually assaulted in Mexico by him and his friend by a woman. And he was just talking about the stigma for men when that happens. And you don't hear their story. So very brave of Chris. Very vulnerable moment. And I don't know if they've ever done something like that on the show. So, it happened and they aired it. And that was interesting. Actually, we're wrong. Izzy just straight has already rejected. I have her down here as geologist. I didn't know her name yet. Little did I know how much we would know her name.
Yeah.
And she cried, like, hysterically.
Yeah, she was upset.
She was on an emotional roller coaster from day 1 on this show. Yes. And I think we now know why.
Yes.
And we'll get to that. Episode 2. Milton and Lydia, they actually talked a little bit at episode 1, right? They connected over rocks.
They did, because they had to set the scene.
Right. She's a geologist, but he's like a super nerd geologist.
No, he's a petroleum engineer.
Right. But I think he went to school. Didn't he do? He had something.
I think if you're a petroleum engineer, then you know about the
You're
rocks.
right. Okay, so he's not a geologist.
We obviously aren't geologists.
No, Brooke clearly is. Okay.
Okay.
No, but she is a geologist, so they have that cross section, right? And they nerded out, or at least he did, and she could tell episode 1 and basically most of episode 2, she was kind of like, I'm not feeling it. She said he was too young for her.
Yeah, he's 24 and she's 30.
He is too young for her.
He is too young. You can tell even in the way he talks, very immature.
And specifically the way he talks about her. He literally said these words. You're like my mom. You would be such a good mother.
No, he didn't say you're like my mom.
No, he said you're right. He said you're like a mother, not my mom. He said you're like a mother.
If he
said, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna want to go play with my friends, but you're gonna be like, be back before the street lights." He's like, how weird is it gonna be that I'm gonna have to ask you to? Yes, truly, these are like. So he's not ready, and he probably needs therapy along with her.
Which actually he did say in later
that he needed therapy.
I think in episode 4. He was like, I've learned from this experience
he did say that
maybe I'm not ready. But
You're
anyway, right. So so now that she's been rejected by Izzy, she goes full force on Milton. She's like,
she doesn't really go full force on Milton yet. I think she's just biding her time. I think in episode 2, at least the way it's edited, she hasn't fully started begging, because she gets to begging him to be with her.
Well, yes.
And it was more just like, oh my gosh, you're so young.
But that's after she tells him. So I think in episode 2 she was
no, there's 4 episodes. That's her begging Milton doesn't start.
It doesn't matter. But whatever.
I'm just saying, I think at this point of the dating process, to me, I don't think she had fully committed to Milton. She got rejected by Izzy. She kept Milton in the mix and was probably hoping for something else that they're just not showing us. because it didn't develop. That's all I.
But for Milton.
But
it
Milton
seems
is
like
her
he
main
was all
option,
in,
yes, because he's kind of starting to go full steam ahead with her.
Yeah.
Even though to me it didn't feel equitable yet.
Right.
All I have down for episode 2 that I can remember, and we could be ignoring something glaring here, but we can't make this an hour section on this. Uchi and Aaliyah get back together, and that just happens from him saying, like, I realized it was actually a good thing you told me you cheated, because it shows your honesty, and you told the truth, even though that could have been devastating for us.
Right.
Which, you know what, is pretty smart reasoning. And if you have found the person that you think is the one, that's the kind of things you have to think about, right?
True.
Like, all that good stuff. And so, and then she kind of...
I think we see a lot... Oh, episode 2 is when we see the Izzy choosing, right? Between Johnny and Stacy?
No, that happens episode 3.
Okay.
So... Episode 2, again, we binged this guy, so it all kind of runs together. But based on what I remember, episode 3 is where he definitively chooses Stacy. Stacy, we see a lot of Stacy in his relationship. It's very fun, very playful. In fact, he challenges Stacy, like, he tells her straight up, I'm more vulnerable with the other girl, and I need that vulnerability with you. And Stacy's like, why? What are you talking about? Like, I would rather
really do that.
Yeah, she was like, I just would rather have fun and be fun. Like, we're going to be together forever. Don't you want someone you can have fun with and not someone who, like, out the gate, it's, like, super, super depressing with? And, you know, from a perspective, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's a mixture of both. But at least the way it's edited, Stacy was clearly the fun option. Johnny's the one.
Right.
So in episode 3 is when we get the deep dive on Johnny and her backstory. She's had a previous partner who overdosed.
Right. Did she tell this to Izzy?
Yes.
So first she dumps Chris, right?
Correct.
So first she's like...
I think she chooses... Is that what you said? She chooses Izzy in episode 2, which leads to her trying to get close to Izzy in episode 3, where he's like, oh, actually, I'm dumping you.
Yeah, so she dumps Chris because she's like, Izzy's my number one. I'm going to get rid of Chris so I can focus on Izzy.
Right.
She goes to Izzy and is like, you're my number one. Let me tell you all about my life. And then so she starts talking about how she was dating an addict and how they broke up.
Mm-hmm.
And
then she immediately seemingly got married to someone else.
Yes. Like within 2 years of that breakup, she got married.
But she did not love that guy that she married.
Right. So then her ex overdosed and died. And so she then realized she was still in love with him. He was the love of her life.
Right.
She wasn't actually in love with her husband. So then she got a divorce. And that was, I think she said 7 years ago.
Yeah.
At this point. So it's been a while.
Right. But she still describes that the addict that overdosed, unfortunately, but she still describes him as the only man she's ever loved.
Yeah.
Which, the whole course of that story, I wish we were recording with this part with video. Izzy was just looked like he was getting beat up.
Yeah.
Not because he was empathetic for her, but almost as like, oh gosh, you're making this too serious.
Yeah, I think so.
He didn't really explain. We could speculate. Maybe he thinks he's immature, that she would marry someone she claimed not to love. Maybe he thought she was emotionally dumping on him. Whatever it was, he did not like it, and from that moment on, you could tell he was like, "Ooh."
And remember, that was like his thing. Their thing was that he also had an engagement before,
right.
Didn't pan to marriage, and so he was like, "Yeah, like you get it, like you know what it means to be at a point where you want to get married," type of thing.
He talked about also his father, not the man who raised him, not being his natural father.
Yeah.
And how that affected him and how he wanted to get away from his Jehovah's Witness. It was Jehovah's Witness upbringing.
Yep.
Just while we're on the subject, we got that was a very dramatic backstory. And you have to do that, I think, in the pods. You don't actually have to, but a lot of people choose to, I guess, because they feel like that allows them to bond deeper, quicker.
I actually think sometimes it's easier to be really vulnerable when you are behind a screen, when you're not face to face.
Right. other people that were vulnerable. JP told Taylor about his troubled upbringing with his mother, and how he said verbally abusive to his sisters, and how and this is a part I don't understand. He said she's very sweet now and he loves her and he doesn't harbor any will for her, but he just wish he'd been more protective of his older sisters back in the day. And there might be other stories we're forgetting, but I think those of relating to the people we're talking about or we're going to be following that we can tell, that's it. Long story short, Izzy says, "Ooh, Johnny, yikes, no thanks. I know I said we wanted vulnerability, but you got a little too vulnerable, and it's weird. The vibes are off." Brooks breaks up with her. She goes crazy. Gretchen Wieners, full on. She's like, actually, Izzy's credit score is bad anyway, and like Stacey's horrible. Like, ugh, if he picks Stacey, it's because he just wants fun and not something real.
Which,
right?
Mind you, Stacey has been very. Like, Stacey really didn't tell the other girls anything about what she had going on in the pods, which, I mean, I respect that.
Respect it.
And so the fact that Johnny even, like, somehow found that out and then went full Regina George on her was hard to watch. It was hard to watch.
Listen,
I mean, it was great. It was...
Yeah, we rib everybody on the show because it's just a ridiculous premise. But I'm giving it away. We don't have a segment for this, but I respect Stacey. That like, hey, I'm about my business. And I'm doing it. And if her life view is like, I want to go out and have fun, and I know some people will be like, oh, well, she's not being deep, she's not being self-aware, emotionally available. I truly believe there are people in this world that are like, nah, I'm not really thinking today. I'm just gonna go have fun.
Sure.
And she's very successful. Seemingly, it's carried her this far. Who knows?
But I do think that I do think it's a major issue if you can't be vulnerable in a relationship.
Right.
And I do think that's going to, down the road, be an issue for them.
Episode 4, though, she does, like, kind of break it down and say, I want to be vulnerable. This is how my thought. She does, for Stacey, take those big, vulnerable steps,
which was... talking about the journal entry where she's like, I can't keep up with my breaths.
No, well,
whatever she
but that's
said.
a far cry from like, I just want to go to a bar and slap you on the butt. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I guess.
Yes, you know, like she's never going to be Lydia or Johnny and just immediately within.
True.
But I'm just saying for her, anyways. And then Johnny runs back to Chris and is like, oh, actually, I know I broke up with you, but when I broke up with you and heard that you didn't like that actually made me realize that it was a mistake. And by
the way, that was another thing, is when Izzy was like, I don't know about this, she kind of started going in on, well, the reason I dumped Chris is because he, I knew it would be so predictable with him and life would be so boring with him, and it's safe and
secure, yeah.
And then when she went back to Chris, she was basically...
She also said, Chris is like the guys I always go for. I picked the safe choice and not the one I want.
But also she contradicted herself because she said, I always pick the addicts. Right. And I'm like... So what is it?
She kept getting caught in a contradiction because Chris and Izzy talked. And she basically told them the same things, but from different perspectives, from different ways. She was contradicting herself. And I think that's ultimately what Chris needed to, spoiler alert, decide not to take her back.
Which, honestly, good for Chris.
Great for Chris.
I'm so glad for Chris.
You could tell he really liked her, and it was really tearing him up, but he decided to choose himself. Now, he did say, see you soon, because I'm sure what they actually decided was not to break up, was to, like, let's try it in the real world. But once you get out the cameras, and the cameras are off, and reality hits you back in the face, I doubt that he was like, oh, yeah, let's continue this. He'd be like, actually, no thanks.
Yeah. Well, it does seem like we're going to see more from Johnny. I think we saw that in the previews. And I do think she deserves to find love. Everybody does. But she just went about it the wrong way.
Right. Okay. Wow. We've talked about this so long, but we have to finish up with episode 4. So we talked about JP Taylor. They get engaged.
Wait, so at the end of episode 3, though, we're left on a
That's what I was about to. That's what I was about to do. So, because I want to finish on this, I want to finish the other storylines first. So we JP and Taylor, they get engaged, which happens episode 3. Then we have what's Izzy and Stacy. They also commit to each other, and it's kind of tentative. I mean, not tentative. It's kind of like, I don't know. I just felt like even her was like, yeah, let's do this. Not kind of like, yes, yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we have, their reveal was, it was a little awkward. These are all kind of awkward, but they did have some like chemistry. She was like twirling for him, and he was like, oh, I'm so lucky. The kind of comments you would want to hear meeting your fiance.
He was talking a lot about her looks, like, oh, you're so beautiful. She didn't say anything about his
Right. I think that.
And you kept saying, oh, she's not going to like him because he's too short.
Well, I thought he was tall until they revealed, and I was like, oh my goodness, she's on heels. She's like almost taller than him.
Yeah.
So it's over, truly. And then we'll finish off with this, which this is now turned into a 40-minute segment. Uche and has to reveal something to Aaliyah, which is that first day of the pods, when they do the speed dating and meet all the other people they're going to be dating, immediately the other person recognized his voice. That other person, she claims she recognized his breathing, which is crazy.
Yep.
Immediately recognized his voice because they had dated in the past, and it was Lydia.
Dun, dun, dun.
Lydia's the same girl who's been consoling Aaliyah, telling like when Aaliyah and Uche were having rough times, she was saying, you look just like, I feel like we're just like each other, and I see so much of me in you. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, she had us fooled. Brooke and I, or at least I was, saying, Lydia's a great friend.
Yeah.
The fact that she can like set aside her feelings to think console Aaliyah makes her a great friend.
Yep.
She's not a great friend.
No.
She is a stalker and needs to be watched, when it comes to your relationships, or Aaliyah's relationship with Uche, because like I said, Uche and Lydia dated and they recognized each other.
Right. Now
here are the facts. Uche was kind of immediately like, ooh, yikes, well.
Yeah.
And Lydia was on the other side like, wow, is this a sign?
Yep.
Should we do this? And
she's
he's
like, you want to try it? You want to start from ground zero and we'll go back and live together and try it again? And
he was like, no, I think he was trying to let her down easily. He's like, well, that wouldn't really be the experiment. Right. We're supposed to see if love is blind, but I already know. And she laughed it off like, aha, the experiment. And he was like, no, I'm serious. I don't think we should retread that ground.
Right.
And she said, okay. We also found out from Uche, from a comment on his Instagram, that the producers also instructed them not to tell anyone.
Which it doesn't surprise me, but I don't know if he should be.
Well, it would have
commenting that.
It would have ruined the experiment, I think, for everybody, because it would have immediately taken Lydia and Uche off the table week one.
But the thing is that when he did tell Aaliyah, she wasn't immediately just like, oh, great, I can't do this. You lied to me, da-da-da. She wasn't like that at all.
She was on board. She was like, this is weird, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
What ruined it is wholeheartedly Lydia's response.
Yes. Because she goes back in. She's like, let me talk to Aaliyah just to kind of get both sides of the story, da-da-da-da-da. She goes and she talks to Aaliyah. And Aaliyah is, at this point, just like word vomit. Like, kind of like she felt this like relief of like, oh, good, I don't have to keep just single white femaling you anymore. Like, yeah, we dated, but then this girl tells her, oh, just to let you know, we had sex like in January.
Which is 3 months ago.
Yeah, and then Aaliyah's like, that was 3 months ago. And Aaliyah is actually being really nice about it, and she's like, okay, I don't want to know too much. I don't want you to tell me anything else.
And Lydia's not even listening at that point.
And going and going. And she's like, you're going to love his dog. You're going to love his friends. He has such a nice house. He has a Tesla. All this stuff where Aaliyah's just kind of like, this is now all tainting my view and ruining this experience for me when I was going about this on my own.
Right.
And
Aaliyah
now you're telling me behind the scenes stuff that I don't want to know.
Aaliyah also was looking to have a friendship with Lydia too. She also saw Lydia as a new lifelong friend that she had just made. Now I'm starting to think I'm sure she's starting to think like, I feel a little betrayed and maybe bamboozled as to why she was so close to Lydia.
Right.
Lydia also said, like, oh, I probably would have fallen in love with him if we'd given another shot.
Yeah.
Lydia also said, like, oh, like, Lydia, okay. Uche framed it in a way of, like, it just didn't work out. And she blocked me on everything, and it was really hard for her. So I don't know where she stands, but I'm done with her.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling it. Lydia framed it as, like, oh, he wasn't ready for me yet. Like, I was new in town, and he wasn't ready to be everything for me, you know what I mean? And so he had some growing up to do, and now that he's grown up, he probably sees you as like a second chance with a woman like me. So even though he didn't get me, he can have you and still have a great woman.
Like,
which is
what?
Is insane.
That's
to
insane.
Say. Yeah.
Like, how is your brain going there?
So Lydia just dumps it all out on the table.
Yeah.
And Aaliyah is clearly shook, goes back and kind of tells Uche all the stuff, like, yeah, what is she talking about? And Uche is like, yikes, no, I am done with her. I don't have any feelings for you. I'm committed to you and only you. Mm-hmm. And you think, okay, they've settled this. This is going to be a long storyline, them figuring it out, and it might still be, but it won't be with them as fiancés, because when he goes to propose to her, she doesn't even show up. She dips, she bounces.
Yeah.
I don't even think she didn't even leave a note. The producers just come on the intercom and say, hey, yeah, Leah decided to to remove herself from the experiment.
That kind of surprised me.
No, it didn't surprise me. I think it was one of those things where you go, like, in the moment, you're kind of swept up, right?
Yeah.
But then you go home and think about it and, like, sober up, and honestly, probably literally sober up a little bit too. And I go, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. What am I I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just show up and I get dragged in their crazy life. I'm not doing this.
Messy. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see Aaliyah just be like, yeah, no. Not even like mad about it. Just like, nah, I'm not about to do this to myself. Yeah. So she doesn't even show up. She doesn't even want to see Uche. Doesn't want to blah, blah, blah. So because of that leads to Lydia having to confess to Milton, like, okay, yeah, I told, or like telling him, catching him up on it. Milton knew nothing about it, apparently.
Right.
And he kind of shuts down.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have too many emotions. He's just like, he doesn't even say, like, I'm upset, or he's just like, I'm just processing it. And Lydia goes into begging mode. Baby, please. And then this is what I didn't like from Lydia. It's like, think about how I've felt this whole time. Think about me. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, think about Milton, actually, because this is his first time to process this. Like, very first few moments. So she's literally begging, saying, I just want to be with you. I only want you.
And when it's in hysterics.
When this is like, in reality, the third guy that she's thought about on that. And let's break down Lydia's arc and make it make sense. She gets there day one. She put this guy that she's clearly has lingering feelings, that including love for, and Uche is there in the pods. And she has to wrestle with that. He rejects her immediately. So I think, how I see it, she throws her emotions fully onto Izzy, kind of starts going full pedal to the metal. He rejects her. She ends up with Milton and now has to admit all of this to him. And he's like, So she's just like, nah, I'm leaving here with something. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm getting engaged.
Yep.
So she just starts saying, oh, I love you, love bombs, and blah, 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 blah. And Milton, in his not adolescent, but childlike ways, ends up proposing to her. He didn't even seem happy about it when he proposed.
He was literally like, this is a risk. I'm taking a big risk.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, Milton, what? You don't have to. You don't have to do this.
Well, he did. And that's the first 4 episodes of Love is Blind. They leave. They don't let us see Milton and Lydia see each other for the first time. It'll be interesting to see her reaction to his Gerry curl and mustache combo. And then they showed us the preview for the rest of the season, and it seemed like doom and gloom.
It does.
They didn't really even market or preview us on a love story, or like a dramatic romance, or a steamy affair. It was just all like, hey, this doesn't work. Why'd you break up with me? Why are you lying to me? You're immature. You want to get back with him. And I got to be honest with you. That's why we signed up for the show, right? Like, I would be nice, but this is so messy. Well, it'd be nice since it's Houston if there were some successes, you know what I mean?
Sure.
If we had our own Lauren and Cameron that we could bump into at HEB.
Oh, yeah.
And be like, we have a podcast that you... No, we wouldn't do that. But, But I don't think that's happening this season.
Yeah.
Not in H-Town.
Same. But, maybe we'll see Leah around and we'll say, hey, good for you, girl.
Well, she's a travel nurse, so she's probably dipped.
She's probably out of here, you're right.
If we run into Lydia, we're going to run. No, we'll say hello and say nice to meet you and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But that's it this week for Love is Blind. Friday, this Friday, we'll have another 4 eps. So if you want to, listen to us ramble on about it, again listen to the episode next week. Okay. And we are just so happy that you have listened to another episode of The People's Rose. This is episode 17 of The People's Rose. I saw a statistic online that most podcasts don't make it to 21 episodes. So we're on the chase to 22.
All righty.
So just stick with us for the final 22nd episode of this. No, I'm joking. No, we'll just continue in perpetuity as long as we continue like reality TV, which we do a lot. So that'll be forever. You can listen to us on any podcast platform, which you know what I just realized? You know this. If you've listened this far, if you're this far in the show, you can listen to us on a podcast platform. So maybe I'll stop saying that. But you can also follow us online. We're in most social media at The People's Rose. And you can find old episodes. You can find our videos on peoplesrose.com, as well as check out our Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And again, we're just thankful that you listened, and we hope you have a blessed week. Anything else, Brooke?
That's it.
Okay, bye.
Bye.